Hello, today I'm going to demonstrate how to make a coiled basket pine needle with a quick start. And so basically what a quick start is that it's giving you something to start making your pine needle basket from outside. Like, so it has a center. Like, here's a basket I made and it was using a cut walnut piece. And so it has these little holes that you can tie into and start coiling around. You can also use a piece of leather with holes in it, like this one, or you can use a piece of clay that you could make and put holes in it. There's all kinds of things, piece of stone. There's ways people have made starts to their baskets where they've glued fabric or material onto stone and then stitch into that. And so basically the one that comes in the kit here is a piece of paper, cardstock, and we have it printed so it looks kind of like a basket start. And so basically we're just gonna cut these out and glue them together and then take the push pin and poke holes through, and they're marked right there. So you're just gonna poke holes through so that your needle can go through and start coiling around the pine needles. So I'm gonna go ahead and boil these pine needles. I have these interesting pine needles I got. They're on the smaller side and they only have 2 needles per bunch, not 3, see? So I'm gonna give it a try and see what kind of basket I can make with them. And then we have raffia to stitch with. So I'm gonna go ahead and boil these up, get them soft. You can boil them, or you can put them in the microwave carefully in a bag with some water, or you can also just soak them overnight or until they're soft in plain water. And you just need to have it so they're not crispy, because see how these are all the way dry, so they'll just crack. So you want to rehydrate them to make it so that they're more bendable. Some people hydrate their needles with glycerin, and that's a wonderful way to do it as well. However, for this demonstration, we're just gonna hydrate them with water and stitch them, and that works fine also. So I'll be back. Okay, I have some boiling water here, and I'm gonna place the needles carefully in, and then using tongs, I'm just going to move them around a little bit and let them boil, and just I'm gonna let them boil for a little while and check them to see when they can bend. Probably just a couple minutes. I've boiled them for a couple minutes, and as you can see, I pulled one out and it's bendable and it's not cracking. So that's just the way we need it. And I'm just gonna take a few pieces of raffia and go ahead and put them in as well, so that they can get nice and wet and soft. You can just wet raffia straight under the faucet. It absorbs really well, but since I have this nice boiling water, might as well get them soft at the same time. And I also just noticed that my hand has sap on it. So I was working with pine needles earlier and I didn't realize that until I started doing the video. But that's okay. I took a minute to get the sap off of my hand with some oil. It's something that I learned years ago, that if you put some oil on your hand, that or anywhere that you have sap, that it helps to break down the sap and remove it easier. I learned that years ago when my son, who was a small child, decided to get a big ball of sticky sap and come over and show me, and his entire hands were covered. And so I searched it up, and the recommendation was mayonnaise. And then I've discovered that basically mayonnaise works, but you can also just use oil. So hope that helps. I've threaded up some raffia onto the tapestry needle, and I'm gonna just come from the back side through any of the holes wiggle, and just have a tail, little tail like that. Take a pine needle and lay it on top like this, and then go through from the back. Wiggle and pull through. And have the pine needle head attach and stick out a little bit. And you're going to want to enclose this tail along with the pine needle as you stitch. And then you will take 3 more stitches. So there's 4. And sometimes pine needles are brown, sometimes they're light green. It just depends on how much sun they get. And so the sun will make them browner. I'm having trouble finding this hole. There it is, okay. Whoops. And haven't tried. I should try and put a finished basket out in the sun if I've used more of a green, but these needles have some brown and green, so it's going to be a neat variation. So now that we have 4 stitches, we're going to pick up another pine needle, and maybe I'll just choose one that's a little more brown, and hold it right in front like that, and then take another stitch through the hole. You can turn over and find the hole and then come through like that. Take 3 more stitches. And if your raffia naturally wants to go like this, you just have to be careful and pull it back like that. You can hold it with your finger like that. Taking 3. So where's that hole? There it is. And then grab another pine needle. Come in from the back. Don't worry so much if this little tail's right there, because as we coil, it's gonna be covered. You just want to make sure to check your backside to keep it nice and neat. 3 more stitches. You can make quick starts from all kinds of things. You could crochet a quick start. You could use a piece of fabric. You could use any kind of like wood. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Come out right here. Uh-oh, I'm hearing sirens. It's summertime, so that's always troubling. Okay, and then adding another pine needle. And that's another thing. Your raffia, you get it wet, but it will dry. So it depends on what time of year it is. You're gonna need to keep wetting your raffia to make it easier to stitch with and not fray. It's made from a palm tree, so it can fray. And to keep it easier to work with, it's nicer when it's damp. So just run it under the faucet if it gets dry. And if you stop working for a day, you would not want to leave your raffia or your pine needles in an enclosed container, because they are both natural material and they will mildew. So just let them dry out and you can just re-wet them. We're going to add another pine needle. edges. Now that we've come all the way around, instead of going through the hole, we're gonna stick the needle from the back side through underneath the pine needle and through the raffia, and then pull through carefully. If your QuickStart is getting a little bit damp from the pine needles, just pull carefully, it'll dry. If there's any problems, you could take like a marker and color in if it starts to wear away or anything like that. Okay, so now we will stick another pine needle in, and we're doing the chain stitch, which is going, this first round is a little more difficult because we're going to want to come through pierce through the raffia and see, I kind of messed up my paper. Push that in a little bit, and I'll take a marker to color it better. And then push through the pine needle and the raffia, and see if you can see that. I'm coming through the pine needle coil and the raffia. And so I've made 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can go underneath the pine needle or above it. It doesn't really matter. You just want to secure it. The first round is difficult. The beginning part of any basket is the most difficult. And then you start to get the hang of it. And then take the time to kind of move your stitches around and make them even. The raffia is getting short, and so I pulled it off the needle and threaded up a new piece of raffia. And then I'm going to come in from the same exact spot through to, from the back to the front, and pull the tail. And then you can tie it, or you can just twist it. I'm just gonna give it a simple tie right here. And then you can clip it shorter. And then enclose this with the pine needle coil and continue stitching. And each time you go around, see, I'm on the third round now, so I'm going to move out and just keep piercing the stitch below. And at the same time, I'm going to start to push my basket shape upward into a bowl shape. So see how I'm pushing it this way? And you can add pine needles as often as you want. It just will make your coil thicker. So if you feel like the needles are thin and you want to start adding them every third, then you can do that. I've started adding them every fourth stitch, so 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of every fifth stitch, because I feel like I'm trying out these needles that are a little thinner because they only have 2 instead of the usual 3 pieces in each pine needle. I think these pine needles are working just fine. And this is raffia, so you can make a pine needle basket with yarn, twine, all kinds of things. Also, if you don't like this bottom, you could just glue something on top of it. That's another thing you could do. And you would just keep stitching this way all the way around as you make your basket in whatever shape you want. You can make a basket shape like that. You can make it flat. It's up to you. And everyone's basket will turn out slightly different. So it's just your unique style based on your hands and your intention. So I'll come back and show you when the basket's a little further along. So I've been stitching along, and it's actually quite calming and meditative to just keep stitching. And I realized, oh, I should probably come back to my video and show you how I've been pushing the basket up on the sides into a nice rounded shape. And now I'm going to start guiding it in so that it has a narrower opening. So I started adding pine needles kind of randomly because it's just kind of a rustic basket. And so I just added it to keep the coil about the same diameter. And I needed more as I was increasing out. And so I'm probably gonna start to add less often as I go in. And that's about all. I was just kind of relaxing because I had a stressful weekend last weekend. 2 of my cats were struck by a rattlesnake, and they're fine. They survived, but it was very scary, and we had to take them to an emergency veterinary in another town. And so I just was reflecting on how making this basket was really calming and distracting, and I feel like that's a neat thing. So I just want to share that. I'm going to keep stitching, and I'll be back to show you how to finish it off. Thanks. I've come to the point where I feel like I like the shape of my basket and I want to start ending it. And so I find the point where I want to end it, which is, I think I want to end it right here. And so I'm wrapping around my pine needles and I see that that will end pretty well. I might clip off a few of them. So I'm going to stop adding pine needles and just stitch all the way around. And also on these pine needles, I noticed that there's kind of a white residue, and I think that's any residual sap that was still in the pine needles when they dried. And so don't worry about it. It can be buffed off. It's not a big deal, and you really can't even notice. Also, I started this basket at 4 and it's now 7. And I had to stop and start because I'm videoing, and also I've made baskets before, so I'm a little faster than a beginner. So I would say a basket, this 3-inch basket, would probably take you about 3 hours to complete, which isn't that bad, and it's a nice project, and you can do it over time. You could spend 15 minutes on it, an hour on it, or you could do it all at once. So I'm gonna continue stitching here and just not, it's trickier because I was pushing in, so you kind of have to come with your needle up like that. And I'm not going to add any more pine needles. I'm just going to stitch all the way around. And any of the ends that poke out like that, you know, it's kind of character, or you can clip it off. It's up to you. These little pokey ends. This twisted, I just want to make it nice and flat. Okay. And let's see. I'm to where I wanted to stop. That's perfect. So I could, you know, just clip these a little shorter. Take one more stitch. Maybe one more stitch. And then can take your needle and just go through. So it's not going through, it's just going through the coil to send that raffia in to secure it. And then you can just clip it off. And you've completed the basket. You can shape it. Look around and see if there's any hairs you want to clip off. I think it looks pretty good. a nice cute little pine needle basket with a quick start. And now you know how to do it. You can experiment with all kinds of quick starts. Thanks for watching.